Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. We are getting to the end on this kit. Everything is going well. I've got a few knickknacks I want to do. One of them is I need to do the Velcro for the body, and I'm going to replace the steering mechanism with these aluminum arms, replacing the plastic ones, and I'm going to replace the carbon fiber little, that's not a bell crank, basically it's just a linkage arm, with this piece. Now the stock piece is carbon fiber, which of course is going to weigh a little less, but this, as you can see, has 3 interconnecting holes, and that will allow for adjustment of how much effect the servo is going to have. Oh, by the way, this is the painted body, nothing too fancy. I definitely recommend cutting out the holes here. That allows for some direct pass-through, which helps with cooling. Now, these I'm going to be, actually these are for a different kit, excuse me. There's another set of shims that I was waiting on, which finally came in. Here we go. These are the shims. If you recall, I was having an issue with the diff here, the button head screws rubbing up against the carbon fiber here, and there was a little bit of space here. The diff could jiggle back and forth, which is not a good thing for several reasons. Number one is the pinion gear. You don't want that thing misaligning with the pinion gear, because it could potentially like chew up, you know, if it gets off where it's only partially onto the plastic gear, it might tear it up a little bit. So anyway, that's gonna get replaced with these, and the problem was that the shims that I had were 15.5, and these are 15 millimeter, so they should fit in here without any bending or whatnot. The ones that I put in here work, but they're a little bent, so I'm replacing that. Now I just wanted to talk for a second about these guys. This comes with the kit. If you're on a budget, you know, by all means use these, especially if you want to follow their recommendations for the weight of fluid. Now I'm using different stuff. This is 200K that they recommend for the center. I've got 500K, 500,000 weight in there. So I was going to be using different fluids anyway. But the problem with these is they aren't necessarily reliable as far as their viscosity. They might be for AE. In other words, if you buy a big bottle of Associated's 200 weight, it may be the same, but it might not. So unless you know that you're going to buy the large bottle, I wouldn't use these. I'd get a full-size bottle of the weights that you plan to use in whatever brand you choose, whether it's TLR, Associated, Hoodie. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter specifically to the vehicle. In other words, you don't need Associated fluids for Associated cars. But they have slight differences brand to brand as far as the viscosity. So you really want to stick with a brand, at least for the particular car in question. So I would just not use these. I would just toss them, and you know, start with what you plan to use long term. Your choice, your budget. Do what you need to do. Just how I'm doing it. So, let's go ahead and get started on this. Just a little tip to make your hardware last, because titanium, steel, aluminum, they will all get chewed up over time. So make sure the wrench is set all the way to the bottom. If there's dirt built up in there, clean it out before you try removing the screw. Press down firmly until you break motion and get the screw turning. That's just going to make your screws last longer, because especially if you're buying titanium hardware, it's expensive enough as it is. You don't want to have to replace them because you're chewing them up with your tools. So let me just show you where the problem lies. Right here, you can see that those shims are buckling a little bit. Now, it really doesn't matter because they're not rubbing up against anything. But it's still not good. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out and pull those. And let me just show you what this was doing previously. As you can see, the diff has a decent amount of movement there. And I've replaced the upright over here, the one that doesn't have the motor mount, with the aluminum option part. Because it's just stronger. You can run plastic if you like, but I wanted to have the aluminum one here, especially because I'm running such thick fluid. There's going to be a lot of torque placed on those two mounts. So let's see what I need here, which ones I'm going to use. I think I'll start with a single 0.3 and see if that fills the gap without needing to use more than one. And then we'll stack them up as needed until that looseness goes away. Get that jiggle out of there. Let's also make sure that this fits properly, that we don't have this binding issue. Let me just take one of these and kind of compare it side by side, or one on top of the other. And it looks to be almost exactly the same size. It must be a very small difference. I did measure that. No one makes 14.5s. If I have to deal with the buckling, I have to deal with the buckling, I guess. Let's see what happens. No, it drops right in. No problem. So this is what you want. You can get any brand you want. This is a Mujin. I don't know how to pronounce their name correctly. Part number is B as in Baker 0769. This is a 12 by 15 millimeter shim in 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3 sizes each. They give you 10 of each size for the pack. And that 0.3 is perfect. There's no motion, but it's not like too tight or anything. So I think we're going to go with that to start and see where things go over time. If things loosen up, I've got plenty of extras. But that will keep this from rubbing. So let's go ahead and fold that up. Go ahead and put these together. And just in case I need to reorder them, let me go ahead and get that staple out of there first. But I'm going to go ahead and put that little card in here. So I have part number. So now it is time to operate on steering. And I've got a lot to do. There's a lot of stuff to take off to do this. It shouldn't take very long though. I don't know if you guys have seen the video that I did on the ProTech RC wheel and tire bags. Those things are sweet. Something you might want to check out. Just an FYI, I got this part off of Amazon, excuse me, eBay. It's Revolution Designs, and it's only $6.59 plus shipping. In any event, there was a couple other vendors actually that had an associated part that they pictured as carbon fiber with the 3 interconnecting holes. And I was going to order the Revolution one. I did order it from a different vendor, a standalone vendor. I can't remember their name. I don't want to talk bad of them, but they were lame. I ordered the part. They showed it in stock, and I waited like a week and a half. I probably should have checked sooner, but I thought I'd give them, time to deliver before I contacted them to complain or inquire what was going on. And when I called them, they put me on hold for like 10 minutes. Then when they came back on, they're like, "Oh, we're sorry. We were out of stock on that item, so we refunded your money." And I was like, well, why didn't you contact me? Why didn't you send me a follow-up email saying we were out of stock and we refunded your money? That way I could have acted and ordered a part from somebody else. You didn't put me on a waiting list for the part. All you did was return my money and then ignore me. Not very good customer service. I don't know what's with companies since COVID. So many services just stink. I don't know if it's bad employees, people don't want to work, what's going on. But that was really frustrating because I wasted a week and a half waiting on this part. If other things had come together and I had already been going to the track with this, I would have been waiting on this. So I found the Revolution part. So I ordered the associated part from somebody else who supposedly had it. And they delivered it to me, and it's the stock part with a single hole, just like this one. It does not have the 3 interconnecting holes. It is pictured as having the 3 interconnecting holes, but the part does not have them. So I got a duplicate of a part that I don't want. And, extra frustration, 4 or 5 days wasted again for them to send me this thing and for me to find out that their photograph is a lie. They don't have the part. They're selling it like they have it, but they don't. It doesn't exist. Either Associated does not make a carbon fiber with the 3 holes, or they sent me the wrong part, or I don't know. I don't care. So I was like, I'm done with that. I'm done chasing. I'm going to get the Revolution part from someone who has it. I was almost going to order 2 or 3 of them from different people, to make sure that somebody sent me a part at some point, you know. But I put my faith in this guy on eBay, and sure enough, it took only 2 business days, and this was in my hand, and I'm good to go. Just to give you, you know, one of the many nightmares, it seems, that just comes with this hobby and the people in it. There's people who just don't know how to do business, or they don't care if people never come back to their websites and buy product from them. I'm very good at remembering companies that are good for me. For example, A Main Hobbies is fantastic. If you recall, during the build, I was missing one of the little barrel pieces in this steering mechanism that I'm taking apart right now. That should have been a warranty item. A Main Hobbies, who sold me the kit, sent me the replacement part right away. I called them up on the phone, no arguing. I didn't have to give them some big story. I said, you know, I did not have the part. It was not in here. And I'm sure it wasn't, because I emptied everything into a tray and I had it on film. I didn't even have to tell them that. They were like, it's no problem. Don't worry about it. We'll get it sent out to you right away. And they sent me a pair of them. So, you know, you got to love it. And they've done things like that for me before in the past. I've always had a satisfactory experience. They've never left me hanging on anything. And even during the holiday seasons, they've gone above and beyond. So I've been a loyal customer of theirs for a long time now. And they're not sponsoring me in any way. So, you know, this is my honest recommendation from my personal experiences. Now, this isn't like a necessary mod that you have to do. It's not going to save you weight or anything like that. It does take out the potential for a little bit of flex in the steering. For things like that, for steering mechanisms, I prefer aluminum. For things like swing arms, I never go with aluminum. I think that's just a waste. It's a waste of weight. And having a certain amount of flex in the arms is part of the way the cars are designed for. So putting a big chunk of aluminum there that has no flexibility to it whatsoever isn't necessarily going to improve the handling of the car. And if you're, you know, hitting things so hard that you need to worry about replacing, you know, all of the movable parts with aluminum, you're doing something different. You know, you're bashing, you're not racing. So, which is fine. You know, some people, that's all they have the room and the time for. They can't get to the track. They just want to go out in the street in front of their house and run their car around. And sometimes you bust it up on a curb. But you're never going to make them bulletproof, so don't even try. I've had people ask about that. You know, how can I, you know, really make this, you know, bulletproof? And it's like, it doesn't exist. As long as I am here, I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite in the threads here instead of on the end of the screw when they go down through there, because I don't want it to get on the bearings or anything. So if I put a little Loctite right there, it'll be on the threads where it's needed and not get rubbed off going through the bearing reeses, or worse yet, get into a bearing. Now, I am not doing anything that would damage the thread. I'm just like popping that little Loctite bubble that was at the top there. So, I don't need either of these parts, I just need the 2 screws. These will go into storage. Okay, let me just explain what I'm contemplating here. This could be on this way, or it can be dropped. Okay. It could be like this, or it could be like this. If it's like this, it's closer in, which means it stands more of a chance of impacting something or not being able to go as far as you might want it to go. Like this, it can have as much range as it needs. And when I start this out, I'm going to put it on the middle hole and see what that gives me as far as range of motion. See, one of the reasons I want this is because, as you can see, the servo arm can only be allowed to travel so far before it's either impacting against the servo itself or it's hitting our steering linkage. So by shortening the connection here, it gives it a longer range of motion. The longer this arm is and the shorter this arm is, the further this will rotate compared to this. So this might move 10 degrees and this might move 20 or more, depending. It's you have to just see how that works out to whatever that calculation would be. But the point is that it's going to give us that extra travel. And because this is such a vital connection, even though I've got a lock on here, I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on here because this doesn't necessarily get all the way into the aluminum threads. So I want this to never loosen up. I mean, it's only the steering. Nothing critical. So, like I said, it should get into the aluminum, into the nylon portion of the threads, but it's going to just barely get there. Wow, the tolerance on those isn't great. There we go. Oh, I've got that upside down. What was I thinking? As usual, trying to talk to you guys and build at the same time. And I throw something on backwards. See, all in all, a pretty quick switch around. Okay, now it's time for Velcro. So those are exactly the same size. So let's get out the good old ruler and marker. Let's see, they've given us 20. So 10, 5, and 15. That's going to give us 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5, 10, 15. Okay, now technically it doesn't really matter whether you put the furry side on the chassis or on the body, but this stuff loves to catch anything, whether it's like if you've got a long sleeve shirt or like a rag that you're doing some cleaning. So I would recommend putting the hook side onto the body, and I would put the fuzzy stuff on the chassis. And that's what I'm going to do. You can do whatever you want. This is another thing that I would actually recommend getting some extra of and keeping it in your box. I do have several different types of hook and loop in my travel box. That way, if it comes loose, I can always cut some up, and it's useful for other things as well. Now, I've been toying with the idea of maybe having a little on this side because of that front tab, but I think I'm just gonna go with this. And if I feel it's necessary, I can get some more hook and loop and put a little bit there. Hopefully this stuff stays on well. Once it does start to peel, though, it gets any dirt in there and it loses adhesion, and then you're just replacing it. This stuff does seem to be very sticky, so I might order some of this from Associated, or see if they have a part number and order it from a hobby store like A-Main. A little more than a 1/4 inch over there. Oh, if you're interested in that Revolution part, let's see. It's called aluminum bell crank arm, and the part number is RDRP0493-arm. Having more than one body is not a bad idea either, because if the body gets trashed during a race, these cars aren't as susceptible. Short course trucks, you can destroy a body in a single heat. All it takes is a couple crashes, and it, you know, things like the type of box tape that has nylon threading in it, the reinforced tape. Get a roll of that, keep it around in your box. You can do amazing repairs to a Lexan body with that reinforced tape. Also, you can use it to, that's a pain. You can put a piece of it right where the tires will contact the body if the suspension and body compressed to the point of actually hitting each other. And that's a good thing to put on your body to keep your paint job from getting destroyed. There's at least one company that makes a special kind of tape. It's like a foil tape. Looks like aluminum foil kind of, but it's more resilient. And that can help also to protect your body. It's also, you know, depending on how competitive you're trying to be, having a body that is the lighter type, where they're using the thinner Lexan and doing a minimalist paint job on it, where you're not doing like 10 different colors and, you know, numerous coats of spray. That'll reduce, wow, that's not good. That'll reduce the weight of your body by a decent amount. I mean, you know, it'll, if you're spending all that money on titanium screws and stuff, you know, why add back a couple grams in paint when you could just not have it? So also stickers like this adds weight. So I do have the lightest body, the thinner Lexan coming, and I will be doing a minimal paint job on that. I like to go for high contrast colors. The cherry red, it's like a dark pink, because I also want to stand out from the other drivers. I want to be able to identify my car. I want to know where the front and the rear is easily at any time, even if it's at a distance. I want to be able to easily orient the car. So orange is another favorite color of mine. And the fluorescents are a nice way to do your initial coat. And then back it with the, like, do a fluorescent orange and then back it with solid orange for a coat or two, and then just be done with it. You know, don't worry about backing it with silver. Who cares if a little light shines through? If you do back it with silver or white, do like a couple of very thin coats, just enough. You know, minimalist. Now, another thing to do, if you're, I would do it not on the body itself, or not on the chassis, but on the body. If the Velcro starts to peel a little bit, maybe even right from the beginning, get some thin CA, take the body off, and starting from inside top, just put a little drip along the top edge. It'll seep in and really glue that stuff to the body. Not a bad way to go. So I've tuned my suspension. Everything else is pretty much ready to go. I need to do a final tuning. I did just a basic, you know, line everything up, but I'm going to do another one and really show you the correct order, like order of operations, if you guys remember that from mathematics. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You know, the order in which you do things is important. So the first thing you need to do when tuning a car like this is you get the body on, you get wheels and tires on, you put in a battery, and you have everything as if it was ready to go race. So then you set it on the ground, on the table, you know, drop it from a little height so the suspension compresses and rebounds, and measure your ride height, and then adjust your shock collars as needed, or depending on the type of car, droop screws, things like that, to get the right ride height. Once you have your ride height, then you can do everything else. And there's an order for doing that stuff too, which I'll go over with you when I put this on the board and do that. That'll be the next video. We're just about done here, and shortly I'll be going to the track with this, and I'll have some videos for you of that. So let's see. Yeah, that's it for this video. All done. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some stuff. Click like, please. Click like, please subscribe. It's very helpful. Feel free to ask questions if you want to get, you know, advice on something, or you want a part number or whatever. Please feel free to comment and ask whatever you want. Okay? Thanks, guys.